Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe and turn on notification. Adrian Vance. He never imagined his life would fracture. Not like this. His world was a structure, built with the meticulous precision of a forensic accountant. At 42, his career in Portsmouth was formidable. He could find the single lie, buried in a mountain of financial data. His attention to detail was obsessive. His instinct for inconsistency. Predatory. It made him a man respected. And feared. He dismantled fraudulent empires with a quiet, methodical calm. But those skills, so sharp in the boardroom, stayed strangely silent at home. Until that October Tuesday. His wife, Cora Vance. 39. Married to him for 11 years. She was the curator of their life. The warm lighting, the tasteful art. The feeling of a home he funded, but could not create. The table was set with her usual grace. Roasted lamb. Rosemary potatoes. A perfect salad. Owen, their 9-year-old, chattered about math. 6-year-old Zoe was drawing winged horses on a napkin. Adrian was tired. His mind still tracing phantom numbers, strategizing for a deposition. And that's when Owen, mid-bite of lamb, dropped it. The data point that didn't fit. Mom has a new friend. He's cool. Took us for ice cream. Adrian felt something cold. Clinical. It wasn't jealousy. It was the familiar, chilling thrill of an audit. The feeling of a single, loose, thread. He looked up. Slowly. Cora had frozen. Her fork, suspended. Her eyes, locked on her plate. The silence lasted only 2 seconds. An eternity of damning evidence. She forced a smile. Bright. Brittle. What friend, Owen? Adrian asked. His tone, as level as a ledger. Cora jumped in. Her voice. A little too high. Oh, Dylan. A consultant from the gallery. It was just once. Work-related. The explanation was too fast. Too detailed. He had to drop off some contracts. And ended up giving the kids a ride. It was nothing. Nothing. But Owen. Oblivious. Shook his head. No, Mom. It wasn't once. It was 3 times. Remember when he gave you those pretty flowers? That day we went to the park? The boy smiled. Pleased with his memory. The silence that followed was thick. Suffocating. Cora opened her mouth. Then closed it. She tried to laugh. The sound died in her throat. Oh, right. I forgot. It was all just work stuff, really. Adrian watched her. 11 years had taught him to read every micro-expression. The flush on her neck. The way her eyes darted left. A classic tell. Her fingers, twisting the napkin in her lap. Every detail was a number that refused to reconcile. Screaming the truth she wouldn't speak. He finished dinner in silence. Helped Zoe with her reading. Tucked them both into bed. And then, he waited. Waited for the long, nightly shower. Waited for the scent of lavender to fade. Waited for the rustle of her silk pajamas. Waited. Until her breathing evened out into the steady rhythm of sleep. Then, at 11:47 p.m., Adrian Vance picked up her phone. The password. Zoe's birthday. A sentimental weakness. He unlocked it. And began his audit. At first, nothing. But Adrian knew where people hid things. It was his job to find them. He found the messaging app. Hidden. Inside a folder labeled Household Budgets. He opened it. And there it was. 7 months. 7 months of correspondence between Cora Vance and Dylan Shaw. They were not professional. They were words that sliced through Adrian like shards of glass. You make the world feel in color again. Cora had written, counting the minutes until Thursday. Dylan had replied. Messages. About hotels. References to our place. A cafe he'd never been to. Photos she'd sent him. Smiling. Some taken in their own bathroom mirror. And the most recent one. From last night. Can't wait for Thursday. It'll be our longest night yet. Adrian scrolled back. Further. March. It started in March. Timid at first. Then flirting. Then declarations. And then, the message that shattered everything. Dylan had asked. What about the kids? How does this work? And Cora had replied. with a casualness that turned Adrian's blood to ice. They'll adjust. Kids are resilient. It's better for them to grow up seeing their mom happy, than in a home without love. Adrian looked at her. Sleeping. Peaceful. Who was this person? He realized he only knew the version she allowed him to see. But Adrian Vance was not a man who acted on impulse. He built cases. He gathered evidence. He planned strategy. And that is exactly what he began to do. The next morning, he kissed her goodbye. Long day. I'll be late. His voice, even. She nodded. Relieved. She thought he was clueless. A pathetic miscalculation. Adrian drove to his office. A tower of glass and steel. He sat, overlooking the harbor, cancelled his appointments, and dialed a number. Leo Gallo. Former detective. Private investigator. I need a full workup. In 36 hours, Adrian said. His voice, flat. Who this guy is. Where he works. Marital status. History, everything. He paused. And I need photographic proof. Of everything. Leo didn't ask questions. You'll have the report by Thursday morning. For the next 36 hours, Adrian performed the role of a devoted husband. He helped Owen build a Lego spaceship. He listened to Cora talk about nothing. A leak. A bake sale. She was relaxed now. Convinced her secret was safe. Her relief was an insult. It sharpened his rage. On Thursday morning, she got ready for her gallery event. She hummed in the shower. The sound grated on him. A lie, set to music. Adrian was in the kitchen when the email arrived. The subject line was stark. He opened the attachment on his phone, and felt the floor vanish. Even though he had braced himself, it was worse. 43 pages. Photos. Timestamps. Geolocation data. Cora and Dylan. Entering a hotel. Kissing in a supermarket parking lot. Holding hands in a cafe. Leaving a movie theater, a movie she claimed she saw with a donor. And there was more. So much more. Dylan Shaw. 34. Not a consultant. A personal trainer. Married. For 6 years. To a school teacher named Rebecca. Father. Of 4-year-old twin girls. And he had a history. A 2019 lawsuit. From a former client. Accusations of an inappropriate relationship. Emotional, and financial. Extortion. Settled out of court. Adrian read it 3 times. Cora wasn't in a passionate love affair. She was a target. Dylan had a pattern. Married women. Financially stable. Emotionally vulnerable. There had been 3 others. Cora would be the 4th. Something inside Adrian shifted then. The pain was still there. A deep, physical ache. But it was now covered by a layer of cold, controlled rage. The kind he used in the boardroom. Calculated. Precise. Lethal. This was no longer a betrayal. It was a hostile takeover. And he was about to initiate a liquidation. That night, the children were at their grandparents'. A special treat. Adrian waited. He sat at the kitchen table. The scene of the first crime. And he waited. She came home at 10:15, smelling of cheap wine, and a cologne he now recognized. Hey, love, she said, kicking off her heels. Sorry I'm late. Adrian didn't move. He simply slid a thick manila envelope across the table. It landed with a soft, final, thud. Before you open that, he said, his voice unnervingly calm. I want you to know one thing. It took me 11 years to build a life with you, Cora. It took me 36 hours to discover who you really were. He paused. Perhaps I'm a better accountant than I am a husband. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The first photo. The kiss. The second, the hotel. The third. And he watched the blood drain from her face. Dylan. With his wife. And his twin daughters. This isn't what it looks like, she whispered. Her voice, cracking. Adrian raised a hand. No. Do not insult my intelligence, Cora. Not now, you spent 7 months lying. You don't get to start telling the truth, just because you got caught. He pulled out a second folder. Thicker. This, he said, pushing it toward her, is what it is. What's in there? She breathed. Divorce papers. A full custody petition, citing emotional abandonment. And this letter, he held up a separate, sealed envelope. Is a copy of everything. The report. The photos. The details of the 2019 lawsuit. Her face went from white to green. Adrian. You wouldn't. I already did. He let the words hang in the air between them. It was delivered by courier. To Rebecca Shaw. At 6 p.m. this evening. She's probably confronting her husband right now. He leaned forward slightly. Oh, and I checked. Dylan has a joint bank account with his wife. When she freezes their funds, and she will. It will be interesting to see how long he stays in love with you. She collapsed into her chair. A choked sob. Tears streamed down her face. But Adrian felt nothing. A vast, cold emptiness. The woman crying was not his wife. She was a hostile entity. A liability. The lawyers will contact you on Monday, he continued. His voice a monotone. You have until Sunday to pack. You can stay in the guest room. After that, you will need to find another place to live. The house stays with me. The children stay with me. He stood up. I do not want you here when they arrive. Adrian, please. She wept. We can talk. We can fix this. For the first time, his voice rose. Laced with ice. Talk? Now you want to talk? You said Owen and Zoe would adjust. You said it was better for them than a home without love. He looked down at her. But here's the funny part, Cora. I still loved you. Yesterday, I still loved you. This house didn't lack love. It lacked loyalty. It lacked integrity. He turned to leave the room. And that cannot be fixed. He walked upstairs. Locked the bedroom door. And listened to her sob for hours. He didn't feel pity. He felt the chilling peace of a successful liquidation. The next 3 months were a systematic dismantling. Adrian had irrefutable evidence. Cora had no defense. Her lawyer tried to negotiate for shared custody. Adrian's lawyer calmly presented the text messages. The ones where Cora called her own children a complication. The judge's ruling was swift. Brutal. 70-30 custody. In Adrian's favor. Minimal support. She could support herself. He kept the house. The cars. The savings. She walked away with her clothes. A few pieces of furniture, and public humiliation. Rebecca Shaw, Dylan's wife, had posted everything online. The story spread like a virus. Cora couldn't go anywhere without the whispers. The stares. Then, she lost her job. Fired for falsifying timesheets. For her lies. Dylan Shaw. Simply disappeared. Fired. Divorced. Broke. Living with his mother in another state. Adrian only saw Cora during custody exchanges. She lost weight. Her eyes were dark, hollowed out. She started smoking. A ghost. Haunting the edges of the life she had thrown away. A Saturday in March. Almost a year later. Kingston Park. Adrian was with the kids. And Cora appeared. She looked fragile. Diminished. She carried a plastic bag with cheap toys. A $5 doll for Zoe. A wind-up car for Owen. The kids accepted them. Politely. Without excitement. Zoe gave her a quick, mechanical hug. Owen. Just a small wave. The trust was broken. It would take years to rebuild. If ever. After 15 painful, awkward minutes, she turned to Adrian. Are you okay? She asked. Her voice. Small. Adrian adjusted his sunglasses. Better than I deserve to be, considering. Adrian, she swallowed. I'm sorry. Every single day. I wake up and I'm sorry. I destroyed everything. I know that. He studied her for a long moment. He saw the woman he had loved. A shadow of herself. A small part of him felt a flicker of pity. But the larger part, the part that woke up alone, the part that watched his children struggle. That part remained as hard as granite. No, he said. His voice soft, but firm. The final analysis. You don't feel like you destroyed everything. You feel like you got caught. That's not the same thing. That's not true. She pleaded. Cora. He said her name, and it felt like a foreign word. For 7 months, you had hundreds of chances to stop. To confess. To choose your family. You didn't. He looked her straight in the eye. You don't regret the actions. You regret the consequences. He waved to Owen and Zoe. Let's go, guys. Time to head out. They ran over. Relieved. Cora stood frozen on the grass. Watching the family she had shattered walk away. Owen looked back once. Then up at his father. Dad? Yeah, buddy. Will Mom ever come back? Like, for good? Adrian stopped. He knelt down to meet his son's gaze. He looked into their eyes. Constant reminders of what was lost. No, he said. With stark honesty. Not the way it was. Things changed. But you will always, always, have a dad who never leaves. I promise you that. Rain or shine. Storm or calm. I'll be here. Always. Owen nodded. A silent understanding. Zoe took his hand, and the three of them walked on. Leaving Cora behind. Literally. And figuratively. That night, Adrian sat on the sofa. The wedding photos were gone. Replaced by Zoe's drawings and Owen's trophies. The space was becoming something new. He picked up his phone. Scrolled through old pictures. He found one. Lisbon. Their 5th anniversary. Cora was laughing on a sun-drenched balcony. A look of genuine happiness on her face. Or was it? He couldn't tell anymore. Could no longer distinguish the truth from the performance. Maybe it had been real then. Maybe it had just eroded. He would never know. He deleted the photo, not with anger, not with sadness. Just with the dispassionate finality of closing a file. He had won the legal battle. The assets. The children. He had audited his life, found the fraud, and ruthlessly excised it. The balance sheet was clean. But he knew the real war was the daily one. Rebuilding trust for his children. Teaching his son that not all promises are broken. Teaching his daughter that love didn't have to come with betrayal. He would win that war, too. Not because he had evidence. Or lawyers. But because he had something Cora never truly possessed. An unshakable, unconditional commitment. And unlike her, Adrian Vance never walked away from a fight. He had never lost a case. This would be his final, most complete victory. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next.